This is the latest card that I've been having so much fun with. It is a three-dimensional card that folds flat to go into a standard A2 size envelope. However, this card is bulky enough that it will take 2 stamps to mail it. You open the envelope up like so. You have the card out and it says pull here, pull there, and you end up with a card that stands on its own, has some dimension to it. It is also very versatile. I have made another card that is using a Christmas theme. This one, I put the star on a piece of acetate that I used as the pull mechanism on it. And finally, one that is a birthday card. Pull on the top of it, and you have balloons popping out of it. So let's get going, and I will show you the steps that you need to make this card to send to your favorite people. Some of the items that you're going to need to make this card are, first of all, a 3 1/4 inch circle of some sort. If you have this particular Spellbinders Nestability set, it's the standard circles large. The second to the largest one is the perfect size for it. However, if you do not have that set, a couple of things that I found that will work beautifully to draw the circles to cut are some ribbon spools. The Stampin' Up! Ribbon, most of it comes on this 3 1/4 inch reel. There is also this one that I found in my stash that I got at Michael's, I believe. And another thing that I found in my kitchen was this old Tupperware container. And it, again, draw the line around it and cut it out. When you draw and cut, remember to cut slightly on the inside of those. You want to eliminate all of the pencil line, of course. And when you draw around something, you end up with a line that is slightly larger than the item that you have traced. All right. Now, the paper that I use on this for the pop-up mechanism, the paper is Neenah 110-pound weight cardstock. A lighter weight cardstock does not work adequately. It is not stiff enough. It will not hold its shape. The card body itself, what the decorations are built on, I have used both the 110-pound cardstock. I have also used 80-pound cardstock. The basic Stampin' Up! Colored cardstock works well for this. One paper that I found that does not work for the card base is the American Crafts textured cardstock. I think that because of the texture that's in it, it is just a little bit too flexible to hold a shape well with all the stress that's put on it for this pop-up card. All right, and you will also need some red line tape. You'll need glue, whichever glue it is that works well for you. The tapes like the snail tapes, the lighter weight tapes like that, even the tape, ATG tape that I use for a lot of things, will not work for this. It does not hold firmly enough. I also have a grid paper that I use that I build things on to keep it square. And let's just get started with what you need to, whoops, one more thing. For the wing mechanism that holds the pop-up in place, today I'm going to use the Neenah 110-pound weight cardstock. It works okay. It's not the best. If you have something else, it would be better. I especially like to use the scrap ends of the laminator pouches that I have cut off. What you're looking for is, let's see if I can get something that'll show up a little bit better here. You're wanting, when you fold the end of it, you want it to be able to pop back up. And the Neenah 110-pound cardstock, it will pop up, but it's not as firm of a pop. One thing that I did try, which I've used on numerous other things, is the clamshell packaging, like that lettuce comes in, things like that. This time that does not work. When you fold it, score it and fold it, it stays down. And if you eventually, it will snap at that hinge too. So this is not one project to use the recycled packaging on. My first preference is the tail ends of the laminator pouches, but the 110-pound cardstock will work. Nothing lighter than 110-pound though. All right, let's get started on the pieces that you need. First of all, you need to cut four 3 3¼ inch circles using your die, tracing mechanism, whatever it is that you need to do that. You also need one more circle that's just out of a text weight paper. You then need to have 4 1/2 inch by 3 inch pieces that you fold in half. And for the pop-up wings, what I was talking about, using first preference the laminator pouch material or the 110-pound cardstock, you need to cut those at 1 1/4 inches by 3 7/8 inches, and they are scored and folded at 3/8 inch on one end of those two pieces. For the center mechanism that you build the embellishment on the top, you need a piece of paper or acetate that is 2 inches by 4 1/4 inches. This varies depending on what your finished embellishment is that you want to look like at the top. If you're going to be putting things on it that the white would show through, then I have again used the laminator pouches. However, this one that I'm going to build, I'm going to use the white because you just cannot see the clear laminator pouches to get an idea how they're put together. You also need one piece of cardstock that is 3 3/4 inches by 11 inches. You score it at 5 3/8 inches and at 10 3/4 inches. You want to have a 1/4 inch tab on that end of it. Let's go ahead and get started on the pop-up mechanism. First thing that you want to do is work with your circles. Now, this text weight circle, simple. You fold it in half, fold it in half again to end up with a quarter, and that will identify the center of it. Now, I take a pin and poke through the center of it so that I know exactly where the center is. What you're going to do with each circle is fold it in half, and score it. Now, what you then do is taking the text weight circle that you have quartered, you lay it into the center of that, and take a pin and just poke through the center of that. That lets you know exactly what the center of this circle is. What you then do is, using this grid, you find your center part of the circle and put it on a line. There is my center part of the circle, and lining this up with the line there. Now I'm going to have to reset that. And you want to keep this pretty darned accurate here, because keeping track of the center part of this circle is important. I use a piece of tape to tape it down, open it up, and then, using the lines on my grid, and I can see already I've got it off some. A bit harder to see it, trying to keep my head out of the camera. All right. You do this with all 4 of the circles that you have. This way you have them divided in quarters. One of the cross bars is the fold, and the other is the line down the center. All right, you have now done that with all 4 of the pieces. Next thing that you do is, on an end where the line is drawn, you want to just trim a tiny amount off straight across that. You want to create a flat portion on the circle there. Next, and again, you do that on all 4 of the circles. Now, using glue on that line, attach some glue. You want to have enough that will hold down, but not that it just totally spills over. Then center this 1/2 inch by 3 inch piece on it, so that the flat part there at the fold is right at the flat part of the circle that you just trimmed off. And again, you do that with all 4 of those circle pieces. This is going to go a little bit faster than you may think, because I've done part of this ahead of time, so that you're not just sitting here watching me draw lines and glue things. Now, once you get all 4 of these circles set up that way, you then take your 2 by 4 1/4 inch piece that you've drawn the line on. You will take one of the circles, line it up, the line there, your flat portion goes to the end, but you're also going to want to line up the folded part of the circle with the bottom edge of it. The way that I find it works easiest is that I just stand them up and tap them there. All right, now trick is to get glue on here and then put it back in position. And again, glue gives you a little bit of wiggle room on it. Tapping it down on your work surface puts the bottom edge of this piece even with the bottom edge of the folded circle. Next thing that you'll do, and the reason for that center mark, is that you need to be able to see it here. You will line up this line in line with this, the one on the other circle, and the center mark needs to be on the line there. So go ahead and put glue on here, and it does need to be glue. You need to have a little bit of wiggle room to get it up, and the snail type adhesives will not hold adequately. Line up the line there. You want to have it above the fold, and line up the center mark with that center line. Okay. Now you take it and flip it over. Take another one of your circles that you have the tab on. This time, put glue all over this piece. Want enough so that it holds, but not so that it just starts oozing out madly. Now, again, you want to put it on there, and then you tap it in place on your work surface. Make sure that the curves are lined up here. And then the fourth one. Glue on that. Line the pencil with that and line the edges up. And since this side is lined up with the center, if this circle is lined up with the circle on the other side of it, it will also be lined up square. Now you have this funny looking little thing. Next step in it is with this center rectangular part sticking up, you lay it down, fold the bottom up, the bottom circle up, and then just the tab from the top circle. Fold it down. Put glue on the tab from the bottom circle. Fold it down and hold it till it dries. Again, adequate to keep it glued together, but you don't want to have it oozing out so that it sticks it to other parts of it that you don't like. And if you look closely at mine, you can see that I'm not quite square here, which is an indication that my lines were not perfectly square either. And you do have a little bit of wiggle room on this, but just do the best you can to keep it all squared up. Now flip it over, fold that bottom circle up, glue on that tab, Fold the top tab down. Hold it till it is tacky enough to work. Okay. And just wipe out any adhesive that you have. You then end up with a piece that looks like this. Now, set that aside. Get your card base, the 3 3/4 by 11 inch. You have scored at 5 3/8 and at 10 3/4. Turn it so that you have the 1/4 inch glue tab at the left-hand side, and you're going to need to start drawing some lines on this. First thing that you will do is up 1 3/4 inches from the bottom, put a mark, and draw your line clear across it. This little T-square ruler is so handy. Put it there, and then you draw your line across. Next thing is you need to find the side that has, again, the tab on it. You need to find the midway point between that fold and that fold. And if your score lines are accurate and you put your ruler in at one end at the center of each score line, the center point will be 2 11/16 inches. Put your mark and draw your straight edge. When you're drawing these lines, especially this one here, make them light because you are probably going to want to erase some of them. All right, you now have your lines drawn on this. The next thing to do, you'll need to make 2 more marks on this. Along the bottom edge of it, take your text weight template circle and lay it, the center of it, on that line that's at the 2 11/16. You then put a tick mark on either side of that. That is the position that you will be gluing the mechanism into. However, that's not what you do quite yet. Take your wing tabs. These are the 3 7/8 by 1 1/4 inch that you have scored 3/8 of an inch on each end. My preference again in this is the laminator plastic material, but since that will not show up on this on camera, we'll go ahead and use it this way, and then you'll also get to see how it works with it. What you will do is the tab, when it folds up like this, you will put glue, or if you're using the laminator plastic, you'll use a piece of red line tape on it. And oops, I should have had this folded. What you will do then is laying the bottom edge of that wing tab on this line, you want to have it so that it is, the whole tab is above that line. When it's glued flat, it sticks out this way, and then when it's folded in, it goes that way. And then the next piece, again, the tab that is there. And this one is a lot easier to position because you just lay it flat on against the line with that tab sticking up, and then fold the card against it. You then, when those wing tabs are lying flat, they are attached here, sticking out, attached here, and sticking out. Now we are going to put the mechanism in. What you will do is, when you have it open, you'll see this solid tab that attaches there. Go ahead and put glue on that. Fold it closed so that you have a flat edge at the bottom, and then you lay it flat, center it at those wing tab, those little tick marks that you made, and push it flat. The bottom edge of the folded circle in line with the bottom edge of your card. Fold it up. All right, now you have this much of it done. What you then do is take the wing tab that's on the left and fold it in so that it goes behind that. And you take the wing tab that's on the right so that it goes at the front of it. Again, the wing tab that's on the left goes behind the center divider. The wing tab that's on the right goes in front of the center divider. You now have this much done. And you are virtually done with the mechanism for the card. Just a matter of doing the final glue here. And hold it in place. You then have, whoops, you know what? I blew it. I did not put the glue on the other side of that pop-up mechanism. I've done this a couple of times before. I don't know why I have such trouble remembering it. All right, now you've got those wing tabs in place. Let's just step back, and you then put glue on here and fold that flat. Hold it in place. And then you put glue on the tab here. Fold it in place and hold that down. And you now have the pop-up. And you can see the amount of pressure that is on this mechanism. That is why you need to make sure that you have that 110-pound cardstock that you're using. Otherwise, it will tear, fall apart, whatever. Next thing that I'm going to do is show you how I have decorated one of them. This is one that I have mostly done, other than the outside decoration. And you'll see here that I used the balloons here. I also used the clear acetate to attach the balloons to. You just do it the same way that I showed you with the cardstock as that center post, but you need to use the red line tape to attach it. And I also made it narrower because I didn't need to have the extra width on it. So you got it put together, you put it down. Sometimes I also wait until after I have the front of it, the outside of it decorated before I put these on. This particular one, I wanted to stamp the word pull on the acetate, so I put the balloons on it prior to attaching it all. Okay, now let's show you a couple of things. For the decorator paper that I put on the outside of it, I found that if I run it through an embossing folder first, it gives more flexibility to the paper. It's not as likely to buckle and gap. And again, do not use a snail type tape on this because it is going to just peel off. I use this old Stampin' Up! Product of Fast Fuse. I believe it's Tombow has one that they call Extreme Adhesive that works the same way. You also could use glue. I would not do a solid glue behind. I'd make sure that it's around the edges and a little bit in the center to keep it folded, to keep it held down. The problem is that since this has to move, both flattening and curving, there is a fair amount of stress that is on the decorator panels that you put on it too. Let's see if I can get this on straighter than I did the other side. All right, now the embellishments for the front of it. Already have this together. Position it approximately where you're going to want to have it and figure out roughly what the center point is of that embellishment, because you're only going to attach it through the center. When it lies flat, it will mostly lie flat against it, but when you open it up, you want to have the ends that stand free on it to give it a more three-dimensional look. And again, I'm going to use the fast fuse on this. Red line tape works well, or the glue will also work for it too. Looks like I got part of this a little bit crooked here. So this is approximately where I'm going to want to have it done. So I will now I have a birthday card ready for. Sometimes I have left the center part just white like the rest of it, and on this that worked fine. I decided this time that I would just do some ink embellishments on the front of that. Now, the nice thing about this card is that even though it's going to take more than one stamp because it's so heavy, it will still fit in a standard A2 envelope. Enjoy, have fun.